well, it's 5 weeks now, and it's been a blast. You know, I'm a big fan of them and followed them for a long time, man. I used to sit back in the day when I lived in Dallas, where Seasons found me, man. I used to pop my T-pop tops off my Firebird, man, and cruise and listen to Flaw, you know. And when they came to town, I'd go see them. So I was a big fan of them. And so when we got put on the tour, it was like awesome. So they're cool dudes. It's been a lot of fun. I think we're going to try to do it again, keep it going. Okay, well, it's a long story that we have with Seasons After. I have a long relationship with them. We actually used to, you know how you'll get out and do gigs and whatever. Well, we used to kind of bump into Dawson when he had other projects, and it was this band right here, and that was my band. And so Dawson became a fan of my band, I guess, you know, and kind of would come down from Wichita and check out shows and stuff like that. So that's how I got to know Dawson, and he actually asked me to do the first album, the one with Cry on it and all of that. And at the time, I was kind of tied up with another project, and I didn't want to, you know, spread myself too thin, and so, you know, stepped aside from that and decided not to do it. And like we'd do gigs or whatever. And at one time, he actually tried out for my band to come and play guitar, but it didn't all come together. So anyways, it was like a long deal of years of kind of bumping into Dawson here and there and doing gigs. And then, of course, when Seasons blew up, and, you know, I'd hear it on Octane and I'd be at work, you know, I was like, oh, man, you know, I missed, you know, my shot or whatever. And so one night I'm just going down the highway. I was a FedEx driver, and going down the highway, and my phone rings. It's like 3 in the morning. I haven't heard from Dawson in probably, you know, a month, or I mean 9 months or a year. They were busy, and so I'm looking at the phone and I'm thinking, man, what does he want with me, you know? And sure enough, man, he's like, you know, we want somebody on this next album, and want to see what you can do. And of course, at that time I was freed up, so I jumped on and I tracked a couple songs. One of them was Weathered and Worn, that song that I told you about. That's our single right now. And another song that's on the new album. And man, we've been swinging it out ever since then. Went through some record label issues and things of that nature, and that's been about 5 years ago. And so we've been trying to kick the teeth of everything out that we could, you know, the last couple of years, trying to get everything moving again and getting free of all the kind of little issues that we had going on. But it's been worth it. It's been a lot of fun. Well, I wouldn't get into absolute detail, you know, how stuff like that is, but, you know, we were quiet for a long time, and we hated to be quiet, you know, and not get on our social networks and do all that, and we took a big blow over that period of time for not being active. But we had to, because, you know, we just couldn't talk about a lot of things. Not that it was so bad or whatever, you just don't speak about that, you know. And so it had a huge impact, because through that, while we couldn't get, you know, basically when you're in a position where you can't get anything done, so we started looking for ways that we could do it ourselves. You know, what's possible, you know, with computers and everything, you know, you can get a lot done, but we didn't really know how to do that. And so Dawson, he really dove in as far as learning the technical side of the you know, Pro Tools and all that stuff. So by the time this was done, Dawson had tracked our album, and him and Jimmy together, you know, basically act as the producers of it, and then we all act as the writers of the whole project. So it was really shaky, and really it sucked, but in the end we've become a machine that we shoot our own videos, we make our own albums, we own our own existence right now, you know. And I don't know how long we can do that. Right now we can fund it, but, you know, and sometime I'm sure in the future you're going to need more to try to push more, but right now, you know, we own what we do, and that makes it's really special to us, you know, to fight for something that long and then get to hold it and cuddle it and move it around. It's not just something that was handed to us. So it's while the whole thing was really was a tough thing for anyone to go through. We gained a lot of strengths from it, as it was finished up. I think that it hurt the momentum for sure, and we were aware of that, definitely. And we really, this project, the music, as far as the music and all of it, when it was written, a lot of this was written years ago, when everything was happening for the band, and when it was coming off of the Cry run and moving into a new album. A lot of this stuff was written then, but having to be quiet for that long and not do anything, you lose all your momentum. And we were aware that once we got started, we basically, there were a few songs out there that the band had, and there was a name, and so we just knew that we were basically going to have to start from the bottom with your most loyal of fans. That the people that really, you've got your fans that people will come and go with a band, and when a band drops off, they may not follow it anymore until something else happens. But you've got that core group of people that are friends, and you get to know those people, and the band establish those relationships. That's the people that's really given it life and allowed it to continue to grow, because they spread the word, and they got involved, and they're still involved, and they're creating more of those people now. So did we lose momentum? We did, but we've worked real hard to gain it, and it's getting back, and it means a lot to us to know that people will stick around for that period of time, when they don't really even have an explanation of what's going on, and we can't give it. But it's cool that it's starting to roll and do its thing now. That's when Michael stepped out, and that's been years back. We went ahead and tracked and did all of the work as far as the writing. Jimmy and Dawson, they're both guitar players, so they tracked all the bass and did all that kind of deal, so we didn't really need one for the album. So when we brought Jesse on, we thought it was a good idea, but there was a couple of little different things. I think it was a difference in personality type things with Jesse, and not like we were fighting or anything like that. Just he had other things going on, we had things, and so we just decided to go the other direction and go with somebody else that was actually already touring with us. His name's Kyle Herbert, and he was running tech, running all of our equipment. We have a lot of computerized type things with our lighting and whatever. And he was crazy enough to get out there with us in the very beginning when we first put this album out, and when we were still trying to get some kind of recognition on it. And he was crazy enough to get up and go out there and do it with us. It's hard to find people that will do that with that kind of commitment, And he plays guitar, and he's already done all these kind of things. So we just thought he was the choice to make, to put. You got to have someone that's stable, and you got to have someone that you get along with, and that shares the same, vision of the group and where you want to go and what you want to accomplish. And it felt like Kyle was that dude, so he gave him the job and stepped him right in, and so far he seems to be handling it well, Weather Than One, that song is deep to me, not because I was trying to write some kind of great deep song. It was because I was, at that time, when I was going through a divorce, and a lot of people do that kind of thing, but man, it was one of those things that, I don't know, it just sent me somewhere else, and I just started thinking about a lot of things that I don't think I thought about beforehand. It just really caused, it just causes turmoil and upset, and your life turns upside down. And so when that was written, I was really starting to look back on a lot of things, and you start asking, well, I know this and I know that, and I was told this and told that when I was a kid, and then you start getting older, and you start seeing some problems and the way things have been taught to you, and it's not really as it seems. And now you start really doing this reflective thing, looking back and forth on a lot of things, which I was brought up in a very strict as far as like Christian home, and it wasn't a bad home, but it was up until about 9 or 10 years old, and then everything just kind of went its own way, and everything that we were taught not to do became everything that was going on in life, and it confused the hell out of me. And So that's where the perspective on that song is, man. Just really looking back and going, damn, you know, it's crazy, you know, where you can end up and you don't even mean to get there. You just wake up one day and just start looking back. It's like, holy shit, you know. The Lights Out video was fun because it was just like tracking and doing the album ourselves and all the other things that we've done now. We didn't know, you know. We go and rent a really good camera, and you know, we really didn't know what we were gonna do. We went and rented this warehouse and built some stuff. And really, that day that we shot it, we didn't have much of a plan. We were like, well, you know, we knew that you use certain lights certain ways, and you know, After Effects and whatever. That maybe we could get something cool out of it. You know, it was really a crapshoot on something that we would look at and be like, well, you know, I'll put that out. You know, never know. But it was a lot of fun, man. And what was crazy about that was we had a bus. It was our first bus that we bought. We paid, I think, $3,500 for it, like one of those church buses. So we had ripped that thing out and like put spray foam in it and put these metal bunk beds. It was like very institutional, man. Like you'd go into depression quick, living in this hole going down the highway. So we used it on one tour. So it had equipment on it sitting outside this warehouse, and I think that was like January or something. And man, this thing had equipment on it. It's sitting outside, so we have everything set up. We built our set, you know, spent all day putting this stuff together and planning shots and all that. So it's time to go home and sleep. Well, that bus is sitting outside on the street, and it's got some gear and stuff on it and whatever. And this crazy snowstorm comes in, man. Well, so we go home or go out to Kyle's place, crash out. And we come back into town, and that bus had been rear-ended by a city vehicle. And so it totaled the bus. And it was crazy, man, because it was all like while we were doing this video, you know, and it was snowing and ice. I mean, there was like this much snow on the ground. At the same time, our bus is got a cop car hanging out the bottom of the back of it, going to some kind of call or whatever, and I guess they sped up or something. Maybe I'm messing the story up, but either way, they ate our bus and totaled it. So, you know, it was a really eventful kind of thing, you know, to have your bus totaled, and we had to leave in like a week, and you know, you're like, oh crap. But we ended up getting this whole experience out of it that took a couple days, and now we look back on, we're like, man, that was, you know, that was crazy. Didn't know what we were doing. So, but we learned a lot, man. We're getting ready to do this Weathered and Worn video, and we're pretty excited about the ideas, you know, how far we're going to take this one. So it's exciting. It's good. They've been a good team to work with. We just recently kind of started moving over to a little bit more of their services. You know, we kind of have let go of little areas of things that we feel comfortable with. Not that we don't just trust people, but like I said, it's our baby. And so we were just working with them in distribution, and they've been more than awesome in that whole thing. But I think now that we're starting to get more involved with some of their label services, so our relationship's definitely growing with them. Yeah, you know, we talk about this on our own, you know, in the back. You know, there's conversations and comments that are made, like, you know, because obviously if you could sell your music outright without it being... I had a guy last night, in fact, in Flint, Michigan, and he come up to me, and he's a great dude, and he rocked out all night, the whole thing, come and hung out. He was the whole deal. You know, you got our music? No, man, I don't have it. I was like, well, you know, we got our CDs in here. If you get it from us, you know, you're helping the band more in a direct way right now. You know, that kind of thing. And he's like, well, you know, I don't mean any disrespect, but you know, dude, there are torrent sites, and I can get it all from there. And my only reply to that was just, please don't tell me about it, man, because it does hurt, man. It's not. I mean, it does not like hurt your feelings, but it's a product. It's something that you put time and effort and money into. And I don't think it's too terribly expensive to own an album, you know, to pay 99 cents for a song. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into that one song, from production and the cost on production and the time. there's just a ton of things. You know, one song, that's not even including, if you hear it on the radio, the money that goes into that to get it out there, you know, for people to know that it's there. So that 99 cents is not really, it's a drop in the bucket in considering the budget that goes into songs. So it'd be nice if people would pay for their music, but we also know that Spotify is also very helpful too in people being able to find and realize if they like you or not. People that may not give you a chance and go out and buy your music, they're not going to spend 10 bucks, but they can go to Spotify and check you out and see what you got going on, and maybe they will buy something. So I don't know, you know, I would rather see us get paid, but I guess there's advantages and disadvantages, all the different directions you can take it. There's just a lot of different, I think what we've realized is there's a lot more avenues that you can, not that you're not happy about having to create new ways of making money, but they're there, and we're trying to utilize those streams, you know, more efficiently rather than just relying on just the sales of your music. Rely on other things that you can be creative with your touring and your fan base. And if you get people involved, I've noticed that if people like you and they truly get involved, they'll buy your music. You know what I mean? So I guess that's where I'm at with it. I'm all over the place, but you know, it's good and bad, you know. The future's, it's busy right now, man. We've got 2 weeks off right now. During that time, we have some work that we have to get done on this video, a lot of you know, like a back end kind of deal, and then we head back out. And to be honest, man, we plan on writing this, as far as I know, we're going to ride this single out on this album, and we plan on dropping one right behind it, another album. We have roughly 60, 65 songs in our catalog right now, written, recorded. We didn't sit around for 2 or 3 years and suck our thumbs. We were working. And so we've got, you know, 3, 4 good solid albums sitting there right now. And so, and we can track them, get them out, and put them in people's hands as quick as we can get it done. That's the beauty of kind of where we're at now. And so, you know, man, we're just going to keep pumping music out and try to stay working and growing and go from here to Canada to Europe to the moon, I hope, you know.
Circumstance, with a second glance, I know that I am not the only one who's been calloused by religion and all the superstition that it's brought into my life since I was young. Take it